I want you to listen to this interview that I did on my new book, Trickle Down Tyranny, now a bestseller.
A few weeks back on a Friday, I flew into JFK. I went back east to check on my mom's health. As many of you know, she had a stroke about 6 months ago. And I was stuck in traffic, 3 hours to go 76 miles. Now, during that 3 hours, I had the pleasure of listening to our guest, Dr. Michael Savage, on WOR out of New York. And while as excruciating as 3 hours of New York traffic can be, Dr. Savage, the #1 New York Times best-selling author and host of the Savage Nation, the third largest show in America, made the trip actually pleasant. Dr. Savage, welcome to the program.
Jerry, thanks for the build-up. How's your mother?
She's doing much, much better, thank you. She's got that, that Irish Catholic East Coast. As I see her eyebrows shoot further into her forehead, I know she's feeling better. And when she starts to say, when she starts to tell me, "Oh, son, I love you," I know it's time to get on a plane because she's not feeling too well. Read your book. And Trickle Down Tyranny, Crushing Obama's Dream of the Socialist States of America. Yet once again, your 27th book, I believe it is, you have managed to not only take us to where we are today, but to really well project into the future what it is we're looking at if we go not so gently into that socialist night.
Jerry, when I wrote the book, I was saying to myself, you know what it is to write a book. You wish that it's in time. You hope you have enough material that people understand that it's not about today, it's about tomorrow. The day it's published, Obama attacks the Supreme Court, saying this group of unelected people as though he's talking about a flash mob in a coffee shop. And he still hasn't backed down from what he did. I think even the midstream media today showed that they're terrified, that they understand finally who they're dealing with, this king in the White House.
He doesn't seem to be constrained by the Constitution, by the rule of law, by the Supreme Court. He seems to have determined that he is the be-all, end-all, and that he is much like Yul Brynner's character in So Let It Be Written, So Let It Be Done. He says it, therefore everyone has to fall in line. I know you're not, and hopefully a lot of people read Trickle Down Tyranny and join in this cause to push back against this tyrannical power grab in America.
Well, remember this. He's overseeing the transformation of our society into the ultimate entitlement state. He himself is exemplifying a man with an entitlement mentality where he says, I am entitled to do as I wish. I am the king. I'm the president. I don't care about the separation of powers. I am the ultimate authority. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts, absolutely. Big deal. Do something about it. I have the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, DHS. I have the FBI. What are you going to do to me? I mean, look at the man's face, Jerry. We're in very serious trouble here because although the Republicans have made a good issue of it, it's not a big enough issue. There should be calls for a congressional investigation of this man right now for what he said to the Supreme Court. Many of us see it as an overt threat, by the way. Do you see it as a threat?
I absolutely do. I mean, when I look at how he has basically ruled with a steamroller, where he will just overrule any of the bankruptcy laws, the forced bankruptcy of General Motors, the forced marriage of Chrysler and Fiat, whether it's just calling senior debt holders speculators, whether it's in any fashion that he envisions this attempt to, I think, overwhelm the body politic and to overwhelm the free market capitalist system, to bring it to its knees, and then to have government be the ultimate savior, I think is his endgame. And I think you pointed out so well in Trickle Down Tyranny.
Well, Trickle Down Tyranny is no joke. This is just the beginning. These are the baby steps of what he's taking. Now he's testing. Remember when the Muslim Islamists were testing us? What were they calling them? Trial balloons or something, when they'd go and see how far they could get away with airline situations. Remember that?
Right.
Okay. I think Obama's testing the limits of how far his power grab can go right now. And I think that he doesn't even understand what he did here. Because what are the consequences? It's like a child who keeps pushing the parents around, and he does it through incremental steps until eventually the parents give up and throw up their hands and say, I can't do anything with him. He's out of control. And they can't control the child. In many ways, Obama is on one hand acting like a spoiled brat. Many people don't believe that. But you have a childishness to him that can be equally dangerous. And then you have a very mature, dangerous politician from the ruthless Chicago political machine who is treating the American people sort of like an afterthought rather than the fact that we elected him, so to speak. I didn't vote for him, but nevertheless, he is the president of the United States, and we have to abide by the laws. But do we have to abide by his tyranny? Where is it written that we have to abide by his tyranny?
We don't. We have a duty, actually, to push back against a tyrannical takeover of the country. When you, Dr. Savage, look at this creeping incrementalism, would you agree that the Democrats play a better political game than the Republicans, where they're relentless in their pursuit of power, and the Republicans every once in a while throw out a volley and a report or a budget and say, here with a press conference, look at what we're doing today. The Democrats just seem to be like a tidal relentlessness on the rocks on a jetty, and they just wear the edges down over time.
Yes, because they have a few things going for them. They have a sense of self-righteousness. They have a sense of entitlement. They have a sense of fake grievances, and the Republicans are like the punching bag for them. This is why the Tea Party came along, Jerry. The Tea Party said, we're not the Republican Party, we're the American people. We are not going to play ball with gangsters. You're not doing your job, we're going to replace you. And, Jerry, there was an election in 2010, which you well remember. What was it, 78 seats changed hands across the land, and they all went, with the exception of 2 or 3, they went to the Republicans. We've had a mandate against Obama's imperiousness and his socialist policies, and yet the media would have you believe, oh, it's all up for grabs. You don't know what's coming in November. God, it's so close. Nonsense. This is the most divisive, despised president in American history, and I believe that unless he rigs the election, which I fear he's already done, he's going to be sadly disappointed when he loses by 20 points, even to the tepid Mitt Romney. But, you know, I just raised another point, Jerry, and I covered it on my show yesterday. Who controls the voting? It turns out that a Spanish holding company now controls the results of our elections, Jerry. You heard that story?
Yes, I did.
Do you realize, I'm sorry to say it rhetorically like that, you realize, I'm talking to a talk show, you realize, of course, Jerry Doyle, you realize, of course, being the man you are, what this means. How did the Republicans let this happen? A Spanish holding company of money manipulators now control the computers which count the elections in America? Wait a minute. How did they permit this? So I'm not so sure he's going to lose.
This is the political voting version of what you were spearheading with the Dubai World Ports deal. We don't want the ships to come in and not have some security functionality that we would want to maintain here. But now in a certain way, we've allowed foreigners to come in, take over, and control without us having a check and balance on what the outcomes of elections could be. And much like the Dubai World Ports deal, this is something else that you would think that others would be on board with, but they're more concerned about selling concert tickets and keychains and doormats and whatever else is that are hawking that day.
You know, Jerry, what's the value of a book? Okay, you see a pretty face of a curmudgeon on the front cover, but is there any reason to buy a book? One page alone in that book is worth people either tearing the page out, which I hope they don't do, and showing it to people. And I think it's page 245. I don't remember. I don't have it with me, believe it or not. And it describes the board of directors of this Spanish holding company and the entire scheme of stealing our votes. The votes are being counted. I don't think people understand this, Jerry. They go in a voting booth and they think that this is some secure system that can't be hacked. My friends listening to the Savage Nation, do you know if your vote even counts anymore? Or have they decided how many votes to give to Obama in advance? Is that why he whispered to Medvedev, when I'm reelected? Is that why he said it again a few days later, when I'm reelected, Jerry? Does he know something that we the sheeple don't know, Jerry?
Well, these are great questions. In looking at what it is that you have studied, what you know, what you see, and what you well lay out in Trickle Down Tyranny, one of the things that galls me is how the others that are supposedly on the same team we are, conservatives, independent conservatives, but then Republican conservatives, aren't stepping up and saying, I got to get Dr. Savage's message out to my audience. That includes Rush and Hannity and Levin and Fox. And these are trumpet calls that you talk about in the book about the future future of the country, but yet they don't want to play ball with you.
How about you, Jerry? Have you been invited on Fox recently?
No.
Okay, so there's a blacklist. There's a blacklist at Fox News that is equal to that of CNN. They're only slightly different than CNN. Some of the fellas and ladies on that network are quite nice and good and mean well, but there's something wrong with the whole picture, and I think I know what's wrong. It's too big a story, but frankly, I cover the issue between Murdoch and Obama in my book, and I believe that we all know that Murdoch's in very bad trouble right now with the UK government. But what people don't understand is that Eric Holder has him in his sights for a similar situation here in America. This is why Fox News recently hired Jesse Jackson's daughter as a commentator, if you can believe it. This is how far they've fallen. This is why outlets like NBC and MSNBC would have a street rat like Al Sharpton on a network as a talker. This is why they would forbid Michael Savage and Jerry Doyle from appearing on their network. It's because they're afraid of the Obama administration, and they're trying to placate them.
They're also, I think, afraid of the failures of the Republican Party, of which they are the media echo chamber. They have given us, yet time and time again, another Mitt Romney or a Johnny McAmnesty or a. And
I never heard that. I never heard the Johnny What'd you call him, Johnny McAmnesty?
Johnny McAmnesty and Mitt Romney. I mean, that's who they've decided to give us. But yet, in spite of that blacklisting, or whatever we would call it, you have managed, and your audience has managed to make you and keep you a #1 New York Times best-selling author and reward you with the ratings of the Savage Nation. I can only imagine what the numbers would be if you got that exposure to the aforementioned Rush, Hannity, Levin, and Fox.
Yeah, but you see, I'm philosophical about it. After a certain number of years of struggling so hard, what I do is I actually thank God every day for what I have, because it's impossible to control outside of the universe in which I live. I can't control how they think or what they do. And so I could look at it the other way and say, what if I were a completely unknown American, like most listeners who have no radio show and no books, and they're burning up inside, Jerry. They're burning up. They're about to explode from the Republicans and the Democrats, and they don't know what to do. So in many ways, you and I speak for them, and we write for them. And Trickle Down Tyranny really is a warning of what's coming, unless they say, here's what they have to say themselves: as bad as Romney is, as tepid as Romney is, we better vote for him. We have to be activated. I'm afraid they won't vote for him.
We'll have to see how that plays out, and we'll be sure to continue what it is that you see for the future. Old wise sage, Dr. Michael Savage. The book is called Trickle Down Tyranny, Crushing Obama's Dream of the Socialist States of America. Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, all major book retailers. Savage Nation is the radio show, third largest in the country, and you can also get the listings at michaelsavage.com. Make sure you listen. As I did when I was driving in New York on WOR, I felt like I was listening to a really good corned beef on rye.
Thanks for the compliment.
I appreciate it, Dr. Savage. Continued success to you, sir.
Jerry, God bless you. Thanks, and I hope your mom's well.
Savage.